1984 Oldsmobile Hurst Olds.
You're a pro street drag racing stuntman. Yes, you are. You are. Yep. Yankee, Yankee.
This is a website. Never miss another hurdle burgle. While you submit your car here, right here. Submit, how do I get on OCR? Submit, you click this button, there's a form, fill out. The bag is also a hat.
The bag's not a hat.
Thank you for a website.
Before there was the Fast and the Furious 21-speed Toyota Supra, there was the Hurst Olds.
When they did it. Ooh.
Now it doesn't do it exactly when you...
Yes,
Yeah.
if it thinks like, no, I can build a little bit more pressure and have a better shift in 200 more RPM, it will. But it won't shift until you at least put it up.
Oh,
But it won't shift exactly when you put it up. And now you've got your overdrive engaged and you're just driving like
Oh, and a
normal car.
kickdown happens normally.
If your passenger doesn't know what the Hurst lightning rods are, or if they're not a gearhead, they will be thoroughly impressed by this fabulous display of transmission theater. But if your passenger is with it, they will know that the Hurst lightning rods are just another variation of no clutch, not a manual. Here's how these things work. Take it away, CJ.
So, you're in park, button press, reverse, nothing. You're in neutral. Now you're in drive. That's regular, overdrive, standard transmissioning. Automatic transmissioning. You put it there, you're still in regular drive, but you will not activate overdrive. Now, with all those two guys down, you are locked in first gear until you are ready and you push that forward. That unlocks second. Now you're in second. It can downshift into first, but it will not upshift into third until you do that. Now you're in third, which will upshift into, fourth drive, and you can button, move it up to overdrive when you're finally ready to enter that. Neutral, button, button. Unless you play with it a little bit, you won't realize that you gotta button between certain ones and not button between others. And if you stall it and you're down here and you panic trying to get it, you're like, oh, because you cannot move stick one. Can't move that.
I see.
And that was a problem sometimes with these, from what I heard from the guys who worked on them when they were relevant cars. Those ratchets will bind up sometimes or get really funky if you're really rough on it. I'm not that rough on it.
There has never been a more succinct lie in the history of childhood than Vacation Bible School. 1984, the final year for the Hurst Olds. And with every shift, you're reminded of an underperforming student who gets passed on to graduation so his teachers don't have to deal with him for another year. He's the world's problem now. The partnership between Oldsmobile and the Pennsylvania-based Hurst Performance began in 1968, after Oldsmobile started putting Hurst shifters in their cars. This led to special edition performance versions of the 442 and the Cutlass, the Hurst/Olds. It was a way for Oldsmobile to go swimming in the performance pool while keeping their Jake Gatsby clothes on. Yet, it worked. For the 15th anniversary Hurst Olds in 1983, the plan was to produce just 2,500 units. But demand was so high that they added an extra 501 cars to the total, and then another 500 for 1984, producing some 3,500 units for the final year. The success of that nostalgia play in 1983 is what got it over the line into 1984 for the one last production year. The Hurst Olds was fortunate And good fortune has a way of not explaining itself, and its recipients have a habit of not caring or asking why. In stock form, this would have had the modified 307 V8, which was Oldsmobile's small block. It was their version of a 5.0 V8, which made around, you want to guess? 1984, 307 cubic inches, 140 horsepower, and 245 pound-feet of torque. But that engine is gone now, and in its place in this Hurst Olds is a 403 Olds. And yeah, even though this is way past 1977, past the consolidation year of General Motors when, we're all going to use the Chevy 350 and everything now, for whatever reason, and it's not important right now, Oldsmobile was allowed to continue manufacturing their own engines. So they had all these strange, in-between engine displacements, like a 403 cubic inch. Anyway, or pretty much 6.6 liters, and that's what you're looking at right now. It also has a quadrajet Rochester carburetor, and with now 6.6 liters, you make 185 horsepower. Wow. And pretty much more importantly, 325 pound-feet of torque. These cars originally came with dual exhaust and 373 rear gearing, along with Hurst's lightning rod shifter assembly, to prevent anybody from getting these confused with the standard Oldsmobile Cutlass. And these things weren't cheap, costing around $19,500 for the fully loaded model, which is about $8,500 more than the base model. And in 2021 dollars, that's about 50 grand. Inspired by the Lenco transmissions used in the NHRA Pro Stock drag racing class, the lightning rods were planetary gears in a modular configuration and matched to an automatic transmission in order to give drivers the feel of being a pro, by taking the traditional perned shift pattern and adding additional levers for each upshift. I guess you could just stay in, if you just take the one and just put it in drive, it's drive. It's a normal transmission. It's a regular auto box. But that's not the point. The point is to throw these things around. But this is just a regular automatic with extra steps. Oldsmobile Hurst Olds. If you bought little solar-powered LED lights to shove into the dirt by your walkway, here's your damn car. I almost wanted to lie and say this makes an even 200 horsepower just to be nice. But the torque is nice. And it sounds fast. So your cheeseburger girlfriend will call you Big Daddy Snake as you wear your black Naugahyde jacket on a 72-degree summer night, bellies full of Turkey Hill ice cream and lungs full of Winstons, rumbling through your yesteryear Keystone town, whose downtown is only 4 blocks long. You yank your pleasure rods 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1 until you reach the cloverleaf at the end of town where your residential identity and small town clout disappears, swept away by the interstate and all the semi-trucks feeding New York City. So back into second gear and blah, you circle around the cloverleaf and back onto State Route 50 nowhere, back into the safety of Conestoga neighbors who all share your opinions on the world and events. Opinions people like me wrote for you, so you buy lawn signs with a 95% profit margin. But it's okay, because you're in a 1984 Hurst Olds, a car from the good old days. But just like social media smokescreens, the Hurst Olds was a manufactured lie. Boomers were in their mid-30s in 1984, and what they were nostalgic for was the early 70s, a year when most of them were in their late teens or early 20s. And these fake shifters capitalized on that nostalgia. It happens all the time. Capitalized nostalgia is a rolling spectrum, and it's going to happen to us as well. Look, culture is recursive. That's why the Hurst Olds was popular in its time, because it bottled something consumers wanted but felt they weren't getting in the present. We're always looking back to the past because the future gives no clear indication of promise. Today, we have stuff like Stranger Things and the Goldbergs for 80s nostalgia. But in the 80s and early 90s, we had the Wonder Years. because people missed the late 60s and early 70s. And in the 70s, we had Grease and Happy Days because people idealized the 1950s. What was going on in the 50s? Westerns. In a Gatsbyan sense, we beat on. Boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. There's no such thing as time travel. The best you can do is remember and look back on the past. But more often than not, if you were to actually go there, it wouldn't be the past that changes, it would be you. To me, the Hurst Olds is a joke. This is silly. It's slow. All it does is make noise and give you a little play school levers here so you can pretend to be a race car driver. From my perspective, I don't get it. Or rather, I don't feel it. This product doesn't work on me. And even now, I hear generational bootlickers say that the Hurst Olds was when they really knew how to make an exciting car. But they weren't even alive when this was new. And even if they were, they would go back and find that their memories are exactly that, just memories, filtered through the colander of time. Maybe knowing what's ahead makes the past more appealing, but I don't know anybody who's actually trying to go back to their high school. We just want to reunite with limited, self-contained aspects of our past. People we've lost, people who've changed, bodies that don't ache, low-stakes responsibilities, relationships we didn't think would last while simultaneously expecting them to last forever. Memories riddled with people you miss like a klutz misses the winning free throw. No one wants their strength to be conditional. They want to be able to handle anything. But wanting to go back implies unfinished business in the journey toward making oneself a more complete person. That's why nostalgia bait has always been, and will always be, profitable. Never forget that. The whole reason these gear shifters exist was to extract money from people. This is a terrible transmission. It's made to placate weak-willed men, and more importantly, bankrupt them. Your memories are a commodity, just like everything else. We drop it low and make it clap for nostalgia signaling. Every generation will exchange money to go back to their version of the good old days, not realizing that they created the entire concept in their heads, here in the present. If I could emotionally bottle your first bust, I'd have more money than Musk. I got you jerking like Joel. It's a matter of trust. And whichever manufacturer successfully bottles that late 90s Honda feeling in the 2020s is going to rule the streets.
I wish I had a song to sing, but I don't. Wish I had a care to give, but I don't care about an Oldsmobile, not one bit. Oh, wait, what am I saying? Of course I care about an Oldsmobile. Otherwise, what am I really doing here? Other than just sitting in my car in the rain.